Old soul, young world.
Old souls, young souls, and all my damn souls in between. Welcome back to another week of Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jesse Ellie. Hey! Guys, it is lit, it is poppin'. This week we have a very special guest. We have an artist, an entrepreneur, a motivational speaker, a truth seeker, somebody who's doing a lot for their community, and the founder of I Aim Clothing. Welcome to the show and thanks for being here, Frankie Always. What's poppin'?
What's up, Jesse?
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I feel like the vibes are like so on point right now.
The vibes are high.
Like we were just talking, we're like, yo, we gotta shut the cameras off, we gotta get this rolling because like we're already having a podcast pretty much.
We're already going. We're already
like,
on that frequency.
Yeah, that frequency. I love that. Hey.
Old soul, young world.
You know I had to.
You had to do it.
But Frankie, I just want to give you the chance from your own perspective, whatever. I know I let the people know you're an artist, an entrepreneur, whatever, but where are you from? Where were you raised? And like, what do you actually do?
So I am from Quincy, Massachusetts.
Shout out Quincy.
Shout out Q-Town. Q-Town, that's my town.
Hey.
From Quincy, Massachusetts. Born and raised. Quincy, right outside of Boston, right outside the Neponset Bridge. Now I got my own apartment in Dorchester.
Hey.
So Dorchester, repping Boston right now. So
Dope.
Yeah.
That's fire.
And I think you put myself in words. I'm a creative entrepreneur. At my core, it's music. I love making music. And yeah, I do the clothing. I also do some photography, videography. I do it all. But
yeah,
it's not Frankie one way. It's Frankie Always.
Yo, that was smooth. That was mad slick.
Always.
It ain't Frankie one way. It's always.
Always. It's always. Yeah.
But one thing I do have to shout you out for is you have been, repping, putting out some dope music lately, with a lot of positive messages, motivational messages, dope beats, great visuals. When and where did you start that? Have you always kind of been like a musician, or is that recent?
On the surface, it's recent. My first song dropped maybe 6 months ago in February. So yeah, 6 months ago.
Hey.
So on the surface, it's recent, but
Was that Laced?
That was Lace Up. Lace Up. Check it out. Lace Up on YouTube, on all streaming platforms. YouTube, dope video. But yeah, Lace Up.
Okay.
And it made a lot of waves. But I've been putting in the work, really devoted to it the last 2 years, like getting the quality of my, writing every day, getting in the studio, putting in the reps, but last 2 years specifically. But my whole life, I've been an artist, and only maybe 2 years ago I had the realization that, I can actually do this. I had a lot of I think I had a lot of low self-esteem growing up, and I always did it, but I was always too afraid to do it. What if I was bad? What if people don't like it? Yeah. But it was always that love. So no matter whether I was putting it out or not, my high school notebooks were filled with rhymes. You know what I mean?
Facts.
You know what I mean?
So you've been writing since high school already?
Oh yeah, dude. I mean, I have raps from middle school.
Wow.
But I never put one out.
Yeah.
All we did was freestyle.
Yeah.
Freestyle in the car, and everyone would be like, everyone would go, and when they would go, it would be like, shoe, and I'd do it in the room, and then I go, and I'm like, I'm not afraid to, I would just turn
going
it,
mad deep with it.
mad deep, off top, turn, and after the beat was off, I'd just get in a flow state, and we would everyone would turn the music down and be like, yo.
Yeah.
You gotta be a rapper.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I have friends who are to this day, they're like, I knew you would be a rapper. I said it when we were in 9th grade.
Yeah.
So it was in me, but it was always putting people on a pedestal, oh, they can do it, but I can't do it. Who am I to do it? And then only 2 years ago, as I started doing a lot of inner work, I was like, hold up, I'm doing this almost like a realization, I do this all the time. My mind's always coming up with rhymes and lyrics, and then I'm like, oh, let me write that down all the time. Been doing that for years.
Yeah.
And it's wait, this is a part of my purpose. And it's a part of my purpose. That's why I hear these rhymes in my mind. And writing is like an act of listening in a way. And
100%.
You're almost given these lines, and just believing I can do it. And then I last 2 years been working on it, and then now the music that, we were working on last year, it's getting released now, so.
Hey.
Yeah.
And it's super fire because like I relate to your story in just like such a separate way. I know we're from different like, walks of life and everything, but just that when you're talking about the fact of embracing and accepting what you've always had, do you know what I mean? That was always natural to you. It was always there. It was always part of your being in your aura, but it was like learning to embrace it and learning to streamline it so that it could be like projected out through you instead of like almost like confused, like, okay, what do I do with this? Or like, why do I have these thoughts? Or why do I have these words? And me, myself, like when I was young, I told you I was already writing and I felt the same way. Like, I was like, where are these words coming from? Like, almost like this, like, if you could picture like a light being streamed down from just the infinite whatever it goes to, and it just like sending lyrics and thoughts into my mind that I felt like people my age, people around me, people that I was in poetry club with, etc., like they weren't really relating. They weren't on that same like synchronized wavelength. And it took me a while because I was like, I think there's this thing that people don't understand, and being empaths, which we'll get into, but like a lot of energy that other people project, like we sometimes mistake it for our own, or we accept it for our own. So it took me a lot through like working with other artists and being vulnerable and like embracing the lyrics and the words that I was writing for me to be like, yo, like, okay, like I'm gonna actually take hold of this, take it as my own, stop like letting other people project on me, and be vulnerable and let the real truth come out that I had to speak like all those years, and it took so long. And we said this off air, like if I had recognized then what I had known now, like maybe it could have pushed me, but everybody has their own path and journey. I had to learn it when I did.
Yeah. You gotta get off you have to get off the path to realize what it's like to be on. It's
Facts.
It's the contrast. You need to learn what it's like to like, you know what I mean? It helps you find yourself by getting lost, and like by being slave to other people's opinions, you realize, and then starting to embrace yourself and just saying, no, like I'm going to be, the arbiter of my worth. I'm going to decide who I am and what I like and my worth. Like, through that contrast, you can see, there's no point of listening to what they say about me.
Facts, 100%. And like, I feel like you rep that like all the time through your Instagram, through your music, through content that you put out, just through your vibration. Like, I feel like you have embraced that aspect of yourself, which is very difficult at a young age, and being a man to like be in tune with those emotions. Take the self-doubt out of your head and let yourself actually be you. Did you ever like hit those points where you did let self-doubt get to you, or you did let other people like get to you, or yourself? Because I think the most important and the most like our worst enemy is usually ourselves. Like, did you ever let that get to you to the point where it pushed you to go forward?
Like I used it as motivation, is what you're saying? Definitely. I mean, there was that external doubt, growing up and internalized, and then your inner cheerleader that we all have as kids became an inner critic, right? So when you're a kid, you're like, oh, look at this basketball. I can be so good, and then someone comes along and says, you'll never be, you'll never be this. You suck. And then
facts.
Soon enough, every time you touch a basketball, all you hear is I suck. And you can't even enjoy basketball anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. So
yeah, I've done a lot of work to relieve myself of that inner critic, because I had a really bad inner critic, a lot of doubt in everything I did. And yeah, I've done a lot of work, and I say on one of my song God Planned It, I say, doubt's still attacking me, but I refuse to hear it because the finish line reserved for the perseverance.
Yo, I have that exact line written in my notes.
Let's go.
That exact line.
Yes, sir. So
that's crazy.
Because the doubts, they still resurface at times,
Facts.
but every single time they used to bully me. And now it's at the point where every single time those doubts resurface, and I can look at it and have awareness of it and say, you know what? Nah, I'm not listening to that anymore.
Facts.
I'm not listening to that voice, because that voice isn't natural to me. That was placed into me by somebody who didn't believe in themselves, and they had pain, and then they gave that pain to me. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So bringing awareness out and saying no to doubt. And when you feel it, just stay committed. And as you do that, you progressively doubt less and less. So I'm having increasing amounts of faith and trust in my journey and less doubt.
Hey.
Yeah.
That's fire.
Which is the best.
And you know what I actually heard the other day, and hopefully I'm going to say this right, but like belief, that they said that like belief in yourself and belief in doubt is still belief. So I was listening to this like motivational podcast, and it was like, because even if you're listening to that doubt for a moment, you're believing that you either believe or you don't believe in that doubt. You know what I mean? It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's all up to how you let yourself be controlled, or you're able to control your mental. And I think that these days a lot of us struggle because we let the outside worlds and outside sources around us control what, since we were born into this physical temple, this body should have been ours. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're just not given the tools in school or sometimes from parents, depending on the lives that we're, grown up in, for us to be able to, at a young age, embrace who we truly are.
Yeah.
And we do take in those projections. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
At what point, like through your music, or maybe which song when you put it out, do you feel like you started projecting your like beacon of light or your truth or yourself? Because I do see like on a lot of your YouTube comments, people are like, wow, you like shine, like there's this like beacon that comes out of you, and it's like, I feel that energy from you. But when did you start embracing that in your music?
In my music, so I think all the music you can hear from me that I've released,
Yeah.
I've had that. And I think sound effect cute. So Ed Sheeran has a tip on songwriting, and it kind of relates to that whole 10,000 hours of mastery thing. And he says, when you turn a faucet on after a long time of it being off, there's going to be a lot of gunk that comes through, right?
Facts.
But if you keep letting that water run soon enough, it'll be clear. And I think of all those years where I was writing and showing nobody and too afraid to do it, and all those years I was getting that initial gunk out. And as I was doing that, I was getting better and better, and I was learning my style, my inner voice.
Yeah.
And that's always evolving. As I evolve as a person, my style's gonna evolve, There's no limitation to where I can take my creativity. But I would say everything you've heard and anything you can hear from me is, I've repped that because I found that within myself. And only when I found that and I started believing myself was I able to actually put out music. Because when I didn't believe in myself and I was trying to, I still had a lot of that doubt. Whenever I would try to, the song didn't come out the way I did, or the engineer I worked with didn't bring it to the quality I imagined. And, they hurt me, and I could have quit at those moments, but I kept going. I kept saying, no, man, like, I know I got something here.
Yeah.
And I just kept believing, even though there was doubt, like that belief couldn't be shaken, because that belief at the core was like felt just so true, And it is true. What we are what we believe in a lot of ways. Like,
100%.
If you believe you're great, like, and you truly believe it, no matter what you do, you're gonna bring that greatness in, and you'll figure out a way.
Yeah, and that's like also like when people say you are who you surround yourself with, you know what I mean? Like if you're, surrounding yourself with negative people with closed mindsets, how are you able to embrace that inner truth, that inner light that you need when everyone else around you is projecting the negativity onto what you're supposed to be doing? So it's like also being conscious enough, I feel like sometimes, to remove yourself from situations, to remove yourself from people, to remove yourself from environments that negatively affect you, and make the conscious decision to step forward into positive choices, positive friendships, positive business relationships, all of that. And, I do want to shout out just really quickly one of your songs, Weirdo. It is fire, guys. Make sure you go check it out. But it's one that really resonated with me, in that I felt like a lot of these concepts that we're talking about were deeply rooted into that song Weirdo, from, in a fun way though. It's funny because when you hear Weirdo, like, I don't know, maybe you think it's serious, but like it's like such a positive, uplifting, motivational. Like when I listen, I want to be like driving and it's like a sunny day going to the beach. Like, I don't know, like
beach vibes,
good vibes, good vibes. And like all the music you put out is good vibes with a positive message, but always with that hint of depth in it, and with motivational keys.
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
so, you know, through that song, Weirdo, what were you kind of like embracing or expressing about like what you'd gone through? Like, where did that even come from for you to write that song?
So on the first point you made about hanging out with the correct people,
Yeah.
that is a key. There's a thing they say.
A master key?
That is a master key. So in AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, it's a great group. I have family members that healed a lot of their addictions through it. And there's a lot of addiction in my family. And they have a phrase in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it says, you get it by osmosis. Like, they're like, just show up. Because if you hang around a bunch of people who have healed their alcoholism,
Yeah.
chances are you will too. But if you go to the bar with all the people who haven't, chances are you're gonna stay there.
Yeah.
So you get it by osmosis. That's a phrase, and that's something that I'm really keen on about, you know, being really attentive about where and who I spend my time with. Is this person nurturing my greatness in you know, my light, or are they tearing it down? And when you start hanging around people who nurture you and make you better and push you, believe you, and you believe in them, and it just, things start to spiral upward.
Right.
So that's a key right there.
Right.
So that's master key.
Master key.
That's fire.
Write that in your notebooks.
Shout out my man Zach Acorn. He got me on the show. He's definitely one of those people.
Shout out self-made, you
Shout out
already
self-made,
know.
man. And to the second thing about Weirdo, yeah, like you said, it was a fun song, and somebody reached out to me, and they're like, yo, what inspired that song? And my response was, and this is true, I used to self-deprecate myself with the word weirdo. Like, I'm a weirdo, like whenever...
A negative connotation with it.
It had a
Yeah.
negative connotation. It was self-attack because I always felt very different, and why can't I just be like everybody else? Why can't I just... And believe me, I try to be like everybody else, you know,
Yes.
high school, whatever. But I always just had this creative flame in me, and just saw the world in a unique perspective. And had a higher energy than most people, and that's fine. But it was as I embraced myself, and I say in the lyrics, younger me was stressing and searching out for acceptance, but that gift is only found within yourself. Now I shout, I'm a weirdo.
Hey!
Hey.
We just got a live performance on Also Young World!
And that's true. Like, I was stressing acceptance, I wasn't embracing myself. So that song was me flipping it. Instead of I'm a weirdo being like this thing I hear in my mind that's attacking me, let me flip it.
Yeah.
Let me get I'm a weirdo. Saying that with pride. Saying that with love, saying that with courage, saying that with like, yeah, like this is me, man.
Yes.
And flipping that, and yeah, it's a very deep topic, you know what I mean? And man, that song has been an anthem for me.
Yep.
And it's helped me so much, obviously. And then
And I'm gonna just say it's an anthem for all the weirdos out there, because as soon as I heard that, like, I'm not even lying, like, I wasn't lying, yo, I teared up because I just resonate so much with the, like, hearing somebody else admit, like, I was a weirdo and I'm embracing it, and, like, in a positive manner, like,
Yeah.
in even the sound of the song being positive, and, like, made me feel like, yo, this is my weirdo anthem. Like, I can rock the fuck out to this and be myself, because, like, I used to be that girl. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, when we're at the point that we are now, where we're able to embrace ourselves and we're able to speak like this, you know, people who knew us back in middle school or high school or whatever, they wouldn't even really recognize who we are, because our energy has uplifted so much. Like, we've gone to this next level of self-acceptance. And that's the most important key about, like, being a weirdo.
Well, and
self-acceptance.
It is. Self-acceptance is everything, and your purpose can't unfold until you accept yourself.
That's fire.
You know what I mean? Like,
Facts.
if you're denying who you really are, you're going to be aimless. It's a fact, because you can't listen to that internal voice that's saying, yo, Frankie, you love to rap. Oh, I can't rap. Who? I know I'm not a rapper. Who?
Yep.
No, man, you're a rapper, bro. You know, it's like, you gotta listen to that truth that's inside of you. And it all starts with self-acceptance. And yeah, what you were saying is, I mean, the name Frankie Always, you know what I mean? It's always been me, but now it's just me without that layer of self-doubt and negativity blocking me from expressing myself fully.
Yes.
And the goal that, we're both on this journey, and I would say most people that come on here, our goal is to heal ourselves so we can continue to shine our most authentic self more brightly and experience ourselves in that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And I feel like project that like positive energy out to others. Like I know I talked about projection and negative projection, but there's the flip side. If there's a negative, there's always a flip side of a positive. You feel me on everything. So that positive projection, that ripple effect of us talking about our insecurities, embracing our authentic selves, being who we really are, and showing other people that makes other people want to open up their authentic self, search deeper, dive deeper, and be like, yo, they can be a weirdo too. I'm a weirdo. I always felt like a weirdo. I always felt different. So what's that difference between you and somebody else who can't find that? You know what I mean? And it's what we're talking about, self-doubt, the negativity, the acceptance. All it is a flip of a switch of your mind. Like you said before, when you were thinking about your music and like this, oh, I can't do it, I can't do it, I can't do it, you weren't releasing what you wanted to put out. And as soon as you flipped the thought idea of how you embraced yourself,
you let the flow through.
The flow came through.
I was basically had the
energy just came rushing in the dam.
It was literally like a hose, like that was kinked up.
Yes.
And the kinks in our own energetic hose are the negative beliefs we're holding about ourselves.
Can you say that one more time?
So,
Sorry, the kinks
that was
in the hose.
Yeah, the kinks in the hose. So, when we feel blocked, the kinks in our own energetic hose are negative beliefs we hold about ourselves. So for me, I believed that I couldn't do it. I had a lot of beliefs. I thought I was ugly, I thought I was a weirdo, all this stuff, and it was a kink in my hose, so I wasn't experiencing the joy of life, the flow of life. I was totally out of it. And as you heal, every time you heal one of those, it's almost like a distortion in your thinking. It's distorted thinking. So every time you heal a distorted belief, you become more aligned with your true, authentic, high vibrational, happy self.
Oof.
That's fire.
So true. Oh man, and I just one more point to make off weirdo, because it was just like I said, I just really fucked with it. Old soul, young world. Growing up, my whole life, everyone would say, Jesse, you're such an old soul. You're such an old soul. And I've told this story a couple times, but like it offended me. I hated when people called me an old soul. I thought like I was boring. I thought like I was legit old. Like I was young. So like when they're saying that to me, like I didn't know how to take it. I always knew I was different. I always knew I was weird, but I didn't understand that concept of that word. And just like you took the word weirdo and flipped it into a positive is exactly what I did with old soul and flipped it to a positive.
Yeah.
You know, we out here flipping our negatives to positives.
We're flipping. It's like a Kanye West sample. We're flipping our own thoughts.
Yo, for real.
Yeah, that's so dope. That's so dope.
And sometimes that's the only way that we can embrace that true higher vibration. Just really making the effort and the acceptance, but with that. And I don't know if you can testify to this. I feel like for me came sacrifice of giving up ignorant thinking, of giving up certain people I would hang out with, certain situations I would put myself in, certain things that I would be okay with when I had less self-value. I would let people do things to me, and it wouldn't occur to me that it was wrong. But now, since I've started recognizing myself and embracing myself, I realize those actions. So when people try to, like I'm saying, projection is a huge word on today's show. When people try to project negatively onto me, I know now what that is, and that I can say, no, thank you.
Yeah,
when I was younger, I almost, because I'm an empath, I would want everything.
Yeah.
Take.
Or you just simply weren't conscious enough to see that it was a reflection of them, and you thought they were actually saying something about you. You know, it's like if someone said to me when I was growing up, oh, you're so weird, you're a weirdo. It's like I didn't see that was a reflection of their own lack of self-acceptance, that anybody who was outside the boundaries of like normal traditional conformity, like that when they couldn't accept themselves, so they would just project it on me, right?
Yes.
When I was being creative.
Right.
So yeah.
And you see that come through in many ways, because sometimes it comes through in like silence when You think there's people around you who really support you and really care about you, but when you whip out your real self, when you start embracing your authentic self, it makes people shy away because now they're like, oh, you've changed or you've this or you that. No, I've leveled to a new part of myself, and you're not ready to get to that mentality yet. You know what I'm saying?
They still have the old version of you in their head, and you're not aligned with that anymore, and they can't accept that. Yeah, they can't. And in my last song, one of the lyrics is, "We can't evolve by remaining what we are."
Yo, are you just gonna keep whooping out every line? I can't even get to your lines because you keep saying them before me.
We can't evolve by remaining what we are.
Is this in Garden?
This is in Garden.
Shout out Garden that dropped at the beginning of August.
Just dropped a video last week. August, Garden. So the lyric is, "We can't evolve by remaining what we are." And what that kind of relates to when I wrote it was like, I've been going through a lot of growth over this last year in particular. And as you go through that growth, like as you become the more evolved version of yourself, you have to let go of the people, the places, the activities that were associated with that less evolved version of yourself. And they served you at that time, but they may no longer serve you in that way because you're thinking differently now. You think of yourself in a different way. You've opened up your possibilities. And when you had, for example, possibilities, right? When you had less you allowed yourself to think more restrictedly and you didn't think of the possibilities, you hung around people on that same frequency who had that same outlook. Like, they didn't believe in themselves. So as you start thinking, yo, I can do more, I can be more, I can really take this to the next level, as you do that, you're going to start resonating with people who think on that frequency of higher possibilities. And you're going to have to let go of the people who are, still thinking more small, essentially, as you evolve. So you gotta be willing to let go of who you were to become who you are destined to become.
Facts.
You can't hold on to who you were. Never sacrifice who you were for who you could be.
Ooh! Yeah. Woo! Yo, you got the gems today, boy.
Yeah.
Always, but always. Frankie always got the gems.
It ain't
but
Frankie sometimes, man.
But again, I just want to shout out the song Garden. It was super dope and something that, like I said, Jerry took my line, so I'm going to repeat it. But, we can't evolve by remaining where we are. And then, he's watering his garden. And it's like when you talk about the concept of watering a garden, because in the video, you are physically, literally in like a vegetable garden. You're digging soil. You have like these cute little overalls on. You're like, it's like a fun, like I'm saying, all of his music is uplifting. Like if you're having a bad day, if you're feeling down and you just need to listen to something that's a high vibration, go on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you can find Frankie Always music, because that shit just already brings you to a higher vibration because it's positive sounding. But besides all that, if you're watching it visually, it's funny. It makes you laugh. Like I'm like laughing with you because you're like such a goose, sir. Like you're just like messing around and being you and showing your authentic self. And like it actually reminded me of like honestly, I don't know how old you are, so I don't know if you know Weezer from back in the day, but like, no, okay. All right, but so like the old school music videos where like literally they were like purposefully like corny funny. Like you have like a guy dressed up in a girl wig and he's trying to like get at you and you're like running away mad fast and like, it's that like energy that you're putting in where it aligns with the lyrics because you're talking about watering a garden. So some people could take that literally like, yeah, you're out here, you're trying to get your crops to grow, but it's like...
It's a metaphor for self-love.
Right. You're literally watering yourself and evolving yourself into a new plant, into a new you. And like, I've said this on the show before, but if you have a seed and you plant it, right, and you leave it in the soil and you never give it water, what's it going to do? It's going to dry up. It's going to die. But if you take care of that, if you give it love, if you give it nutrients, water, that plant's going to thrive, Yeah. And that's the same way we should look at ourselves. How are you watering yourself every day? Like, you know people who go out and water their gardens every day. They put their sprinklers on so their grass doesn't get brown, right? But what about your soul? What about your mind? What about yourself? Are you watering that? Exactly. That's what I got from it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly where I was coming from. And the seeds in that analogy could be... that could be a metaphor for the gifts we were given. So we're all different. We're all unique. Some people might be great mathematicians. Me, I'm a great artist. I'm a poet.
Creative.
I'm a creator, and that's my gift. So a few years ago when I was not accepting my gifts, you know, I would get these lines, lyrics, and I'd write them down, but I would never do more. I never was pursuing it, I wasn't doing it. I wasn't watering the garden, so nothing was ever growing.
It couldn't be fruitful.
It couldn't be fruitful. So our seeds are basically the gifts that are innate in ourselves.
Yeah.
And then it takes deliberate attention, you know, choice, sacrifice, and self-belief to continually water that to actualize our potential. Because we actualize our potential. We have potential. We have innate, you know, gifts within ourselves. It's a gift that I have.
Yeah.
And for years I wasn't watering it. So yeah, you have to water yourself, and that's how you actualize your potential.
For real.
Yeah.
And you know, I think that also everyone listening in, because we all are trying to do different things and we come from different walks of life, it's important to realize that what we're talking about, you can apply to anything that you're doing, but you have to take the steps within yourself to embrace that. Because like Frankie was just saying, the seeds that we're given are gifts, right? So if I'm given the gift of writing, the gift of poetry, but I choose to push that aside and not embrace it, that gift is no longer going to be mine, you know? And part of that, I think, a lot that we're talking about is not physical. It's not this. It's not this. You know what I'm saying? It's in here. It's something that is unexplainable. Where did it come from since I was little? Where did it come from since you were little, Frankie, that it made you have that fire, that passion in your soul that like you couldn't put that fire out no matter how many times you try to tell yourself you could be normal, that you could just whatever, fit in with the crowd, whatever. There was something in you that eternally was burning, like I have to be shown, I have to come out. And I feel like that comes from a divine state of like intuition, of being born with a gift of knowing, of knowledge, of internal intuition. From your perspective, like to you, what is intuition? Do you feel like you have intuition? Do you feel like everybody has intuition? Or, I don't know, I'm just curious what you think about that.
That's a really good question. I am extremely intuitive.
I'm so intuitive. I was like, yo, we gotta talk about this.
I'm so intuitive.
I feel like on the phone we were having some telepathic shit, so I was like...
for anyone, we went like 30, she like called me, she's like, we'll have like a quick preliminary call, 5 minutes. Cool. It was like 35 minutes, like getting that deep, and we were like, we just gotta stop.
We pretty much had 2 podcasts already.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
We had podcasts just on the phone.
Yeah.
I think the only person that heard that was maybe the government.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying, wait, don't give me that.
Oh man.
That was crazy funny, but intuition. Yeah, I'm super intuitive, and what I mean by that is like, there's some things where I can't explain. But it's just a feeling, like being around, somebody or example. I dated a girl one time, and on paper she had a lot of the qualities I was looking for. Right. But
like we said, on physical paper, right?
Like she was blah blah blah. This is this, but there was something about I was just like. That's not for me, like not now, not here, you know, for whatever reason, I just felt like I shouldn't go forward with that. And I listened to that, and like when I listen to my intuition, that's just trust. That's just trust. That's just trust to just feel into life.
Facts.
You know, and I think everybody has it. I mean, I can only speak from my experience. I think some people might be different. But yeah, sometimes my feelings and my intuition supersede what might be logical. And that doesn't, you know what I mean?
That's key. Another key.
And I don't mean that in like my opinions are just based on my feelings type thing. It's more like when I have a decision to make, I usually, my intuition is like, yo, go this way. And that's what's taken me here, taking the road less traveled, right?
Yeah.
Watching, being 18 and watching everybody go this way, oh, go get the job, go follow what mommy and daddy want. And I'm here and I'm like, my path is, I'm just hearing like, yo, you're an artist, go this way, feel. Right. And I walked that way. And at first it was scary. But as I've followed my intuition more, I've gotten confirmation, and that makes you more intuitive.
That's
That's how you build your intuitive strength, is by trusting your intuition, even though, you can't explain why you're going the road less traveled. You do it. Things start happening. You're like, whoa, and you continually make choices based on that. And then as you do that, it's like life becomes a lot less stressful, because I don't stress a decision anymore, because I feel into it. I feel what's right. And if it works out the way I intended to, awesome, that's great.
Right.
And if it doesn't work out the way I intended to, well, that's a lesson that I need to learn anyway.
And you know what, like, you saying that just made me think of, like, letting go of control. Learning to stop trying to control everything, because when we're young, when we face those vulnerabilities, insecurities, judgment, all of that, there's this point where we can, like you said, go one way or go the other. We really have that option, but it's like, what is it that you're going to embrace? And getting the confirmation out of that. Like, when you say confirmation, there has been so many times in my life where unspokenly, I could never explain to anybody why I made that choice, why this happened to me. And at the moment, there had been things that happened to me where I was thinking, like, I did something wrong. Like, I'm getting karma. This situation's happening to me because something happened in my life and now it's coming back, like, whatever. But realizing as I got older that whatever it is that happened in that moment that I was stressing about, someday in the future, whether it was years, weeks, whatever, it rolled in and it made sense. It came back as a confirmation to be like, it was correct that you followed that intuitive feeling. It was correct that you followed that path. Even though every other person was going right, you decided to go left, and it led you to this opportunity. If I didn't take those risks, those chances, those opportunities, listen to my empath, like, intuition and emotion, that divine connected energy, I would not be sitting here today with you. Do you feel me? And that's special. Like, and we talked about it on the phone, like, when you start embracing that part of yourself and understanding the manifestation of the universe and how everything is really willing to work in your favor, the people you start crossing paths with is divine. Yeah. And I feel like even you, like, when we talked on the phone, I'm like, yo, I don't know what it is, but the fact that, like, this person came on the show that had me have this person on the show that led me to have that person on the show that led me to you, like, that's divinity. Yeah. And I don't know, it's just that unspoken shit that, like, anyone listening in, guys, when you wake up in the morning, you're stressing about bills. You're stressing about what you're going to eat today. You're stressing about this. You're stressing about that. All the physical shit. Are you taking even a moment to think about the manifestation of how your energy is translating to future opportunities? You know what I mean? Because by you stressing and forgetting that there's more than physical, that we are all actually spirits, we're spiritual, we're all souls. There's something in this body that when this body dies, there's something in there that's gonna do something else. Do you know what I mean? Like, once you start embracing that, you'll see that the universe is going to start rolling in that path forward. And if you fight it, the more you fight it, the more you try to control, the more you try to make things work for you when they're not enforced things, I feel like that's when, things work against you. When you force and you control things, it's not gonna happen. When you let things flow, when you're fluid and you trust in the process, you trust what's happening in your journey, even when you don't know, I think that's when shit really starts to evolve.
It starts with your mental attitude.
Yeah, and it's crazy because it's not something we could give to the people listening in, like, here's a book, here's how you do it. But it's like, verbally, we can tell you guys, like, Frankie took himself from a whole different Frankie anytime to Frankie Always. You feel me? Like, he is more selective about his choices, about himself, his energy, and learning to flow. Yeah. And that's that's just a whole nother level of, like, embracing yourself. Yeah.
And to the point you made on stress, like, people, they're just, every day they're stressing and they're not focusing on, what they could become, right? Mm-hmm. I think fear of the future comes from an unhealed past.
Let's get into this karma shit.
And so if you have a lot of if you don't know how to, like, learn and heal negative emotions from a past experience, you're gonna constantly project that into the future. So if I have a bad breakup that I never really thought about. It was just like, oh, she broke up with me. Let's just hit the clubs, whatever, F her, you know, and I never really worked through it. Then every single time I go to date a girl, these insecurities are going to bubble up that are going to block me from having that connection.
Trauma healing.
Yeah, it literally is trauma. And trauma, a lot of people associate it with a real strong word, but it can be really subtle.
Yeah.
It can be a slight, somebody said to you in the schoolyard, like, you're ugly, and walked away.
Yeah.
And then you internalize it, and then that comes up.
Right.
So I think stress is literally just when you're interpreting your life events through the lens of fear. So it's like, yeah.
That's fun.
So something happens to you, you know, your car has breaks down the side of the highway, and you start stressing like crazy because you're having all this fear, like, how am I going to afford this, blah, 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 blah. And the opposite, the diametrically opposite position is to trust the life, respond with trust, like, yo,
Exactly.
I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out, but I'm gonna figure it out.
Even if you think that the situation or what's happening is negative.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Even if you think that, because it probably isn't.
Yeah, well, it's just the way you're interpreting it. But later on, you could be like, wow, breaking down the side of the highway actually taught me how to fix a flat tire, and also gave me a lot of this experience.
Yeah.
You know, everything. So how you respond to life that's the essence of your mental attitude. And yeah, you got to learn to trust life, and so you have to heal your past, and then, because as you heal your past, then you stop projecting it onto the future,
right?
And so as you become, you know, more present, you start enjoying and loving yourself more, then the future becomes an easel for excitement. Like, yo, what could I do? What can I create? What can I, like, yo, let's have fun.
Frank, you're gonna get me going right now.
Let's have fun with this. You know
I gotta
what I mean?
scream.
Like, yo, and that is my personal experience. Like, I used to be so scared of the future, anxiety ridden. What am I gonna do?
Yo, same.
Yo, whack. Yo, don't live like that.
Don't live like that. Don't live like that.
Don't do it. And then as you realize that, it's like, whoa, like, these are actually me projecting fear onto the future, and the fear is coming from past emotions, you know what I mean? As you heal, you become into more joy, happiness, self-confidence.
Yes.
Yeah, just the future, it's an easel. What do you want to create? Who do you want to become? And to bring it back to this, the point where we were saying with the seeds, right?
Yeah.
How you need to water your own seeds. My big message is it actually matters that you actualize your potential, because the gifts you were given for a reason, and you need to go out and do the work to actualize that, because when you become the more evolved, happy, positive person, that ripples through the universe, and it ripples for everyone, and all the people around you will see it. And that inspires them to be better. And you're just going to be helped them by who you are. It's not going to be what you say to them or what you do for them. Just by being a positive person and then watching you go from A to B like that, it's going to inspire them to do the same thing. So it actually matters that you water your garden.
Yes.
Because no one else can do it for you. And the world actually needs you.
And just sorry to cut you off, but no matter how small you feel that you are in this universe of people, because I know it feels like sometimes like we're so minute and there's this whole ocean and like we're not known yet. We don't have this many followers. We don't have that. All those self-doubt, negative things coming in your mind. I look at the clock, it was 2:22 and I just looked at it when I said that. Key numbers, guys, key messages, make sure you're in tune. But like, there's certain things that will tell you that, but when you get to the point, like Frankie just said, when you can actually embrace and move forward with it, like that's when you hit your potential. And that's when, like he's saying, the ripple effects, like I think sometimes that this life is just a big game board, a big test. I don't know if you ever seen the show, like they had on TV for a few years, it was like the Dome or something, but like something that like we cannot see outside of this whole physical aspect where it's like, what if you're being tested right now to every single situation in life, how you react? Because we don't know what's after this. We don't know what comes, like I said, when our body dies. And we talked about this earlier before we started recording, but like, karma, I believe in, is a huge thing. And like, what if right now, every decision you're making is leading towards a karma you're getting in your next life? What if you knew that when you were born here? What if you knew that? What if somebody gave you a game card and told you, this is the point of the game? Then how would you live your life? You would probably live it differently, right?
Yeah, yep.
So I think that within this world, within this physical universe, there's like a physical and there's the spiritual. And you can embrace both of them. You can only stay on physical. You can try to only stay in spiritual, but it's really the alignment of balance of both. And I think that each individual person has a responsibility to figure out how they get to that point where they're making a ripple effect. What if that's literally the whole purpose of us being born on this earth is to figure out our purpose? And what if you don't figure it out and you keep getting reborn and reborn and reincarnated every time you die into this exact same life until you figure out what your purpose is, that you can get to that point where you love yourself? Because there are billions and billions of people, Frankie, that will live their whole entire physical life until they're like 90 years old on this planet and pass away and never have this conversation. Never have these thoughts and never get to that higher frequency of thinking. You know what I'm saying? And I think it brings up the questions in me that, like, what separates that 80-year-old who's never had the frequency of conscious thought in their life to, like, somebody like us who are already in the younger stages of our life and having those thoughts. I feel
we're very lucky.
It's lucky, but it's like
we're very lucky,
mental too, though, right?
Luck might not be the good word. It's karma.
It's karma, and it's embracing it too.
I mean, it's like every person, their consciousness is at some stage of their evolution. So we're all evolving, right? And it's not like, we're better than them in any way. They're just at a different stage in their own evolution. It's like a brick at the bottom of the building isn't worse than a brick that's up on the building.
Right.
They're all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And we're all evolving in our own ways. You know what I mean? And I think that karma is an explanation that, sits well with me, that the soul, like physically we have age associated to us that we what's the word I'm looking for?
I know what you're saying.
Yeah. We all have our own physical age, but the soul doesn't have an age.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And
there's a clock on this body, but I don't feel like this depth within me is ever going to go away. I don't know where it's going to go, but I know it's going to continue.
Yeah. And to bring up your point of what if the whole point of this game of life is to collect good karma, right? And that's literally something that I believe. And when you look at life through that lens, right, you start realizing that everything that happens to you is an opportunity for growth. Because you're interpreting all events through that lens.
Through that growth lens.
Car breaks down, this is going to help me grow.
Right.
New challenge.
Right.
New challenge. New challenge. New challenge.
Right.
And you continually bring positivity to it.
Instead of looking at like a roadblock.
Yes, It's just looking at everything like, yep, this is a new challenge for me to grow.
Right.
It's pushing me out of my comfort zone, beyond my limits. This is this life, man. We have a lot of opportunity to evolve ourselves because there's so many people operating at different levels of consciousness.
Yeah.
And what I mean is there's people who vibrate very highly, they're very wise. There's people that are way more wise than us, the spiritual teachers and like the world-renowned thinkers and leaders, right?
Yeah.
That we strive to become and actualize ourselves into.
Right.
But and then there's, us who are evolving, and then there's people maybe who think in fear and they project down the world and they're in this hate state, and those are the people who commit crimes and they just hate other people. So, and society is basically a melting pot of all these different levels of consciousness interacting. Right. So you might go to the gas station and then you just see this guy and he yells at you or something, right?
Because he's living in a hate state.
Yeah, and he's projecting that on everything, and you just walked by him,
right.
Right. But everything is an opportunity for you to say, it says nothing about me. And actually, you start evolving when not only
stops bothering you.
Well, it stops bothering you is like the first step.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't bother you, reflex. The second step is actually feeling compassion.
Yes.
You're saying, wow, that person is so tangled up in their own mental illusions that they think I'm some type of enemy. And in reality, I want the best for them.
I'm sorry, you just keep saying off like thoughts in my head, but like even with like friendships or relationships, like I think about past relationships before I knew my self-worth that I was in the projection of like their childhood trauma or their negative energy or their low vibrating frequency that was being projected onto me, that, you know, I would take personally. I think it was me, and I would always switch around and be like, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
What did I do? What did I not do? And then when I hit that point, like you're just talking about, I started feeling compassionate. For years and years, I had held on to anger, of bitterness, of exes, of friendships, of things that I projected negatively because I was living in a state of fear. And once I got to that next level, there has been times where I've literally been alone and I have thanked the universe for putting me in those relationships, those situations where I was abused, talked down to, given, you know, negative projections of myself, told I would never be nothing, and realizing that made me better. I was thankful for those moments. You know what I mean? And when you get to that point where you're literally understanding that all of that projected you forward to where you're supposed to be, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like I'm embracing it, you know?
And to go off your point, right? Think of the word rock bottom, right? They say when you hit rock bottom, that's when you finally make the change, right? And it's almost like we accumulate all this negativity that the world gave to us, projected on us, you know, for whatever reason. And it was like our own rock bottom. And it was almost like, I look at it like a cocoon. It was a cocoon that I felt trapped in.
Yep.
And it was like, all right, I gotta get out of this. Because the pain that I was experiencing and the sadness and the depression, the anxiety was too much to bear, that it forced my own evolution.
Facts.
And so sometimes, and then I started, you know, punching through, and every single time, that's how a caterpillar develops its wings.
Right.
It's trying to get through that cocoon.
Right.
And you evolve in the darkness, you know, it evolves in the darkness. So, and so I think it's almost like that pain is what pushed us to evolve.
Yeah.
You know, in a way.
But
And then and recognizing it, and now at a point where what you were saying is being thankful for it.
Right.
Like, wow, thank you for all the adversity I went through. Thank you, because it made me who I am today.
Facts.
And I would have, you know, Ram Dass, he's a spiritual teacher.
I seen you quote him on one of your videos.
I love him.
Yeah.
I love him. He's actually from Boston. Shout out Boston. He was a Harvard professor.
Hey.
And he says something that suffering is our training program in becoming wise. Yeah. And I can attest to that all my suffering and struggle, depression forged me into who I am today. And now I'm in a position where I can help other people through my music and my art and whatever endeavors that my soul calls me to. I can help people because I've been in that pit and I've climbed out, and now I can offer my hand and help pull that person up.
Facts. And imagine if everybody was evolving to that point where where they could give their hand and reach somebody else. You know what I mean?
There's no limits to how.
That's that ripple effect.
We will get to that point in humanity, and we're gonna spiral upward.
Right.
Like humanity will spiral upward once a certain certain amount of people start adopting this. It'll become essentially trendy.
Right.
You know, in a way.
Facts.
There's an experiment called the 100 Monkeys. Have you ever heard of it?
I have not.
So basically, they had a group of monkeys on 2 different continents, right? Mm-hmm. Australia and New Zealand. Mm-hmm. I don't know if those are actual continents, but for this example, right?
Okay, yeah.
The ones in Australia. So one monkey started peeling these potatoes differently. One monkey for a while, and then after a while 2 did, and then 4 or 5, and that got to the point where once like 30 or 40 did, suddenly all of them start doing it. And then once 100 monkeys did it on this continent, right? Simultaneously in the experiment, the monkeys on the opposite continent, all of them started peeling the potatoes the same way.
Like, if that doesn't prove that, spiritual, that esoteric, like, you cannot touch it, you can't explain it.
In physics, there's some type of word in physics for that, that phenomena. Yeah. But it's like, it starts with people like us moving from a love frequency, forgiveness frequency, courage frequency, and we are essentially the leaders of a better tomorrow.
Facts.
And then a third person does it, a fourth.
Yeah.
More and more people do it.
Right.
And then it comes bigger and bigger and
But
bigger.
being able to speak about it
and
too.
speaking about it and speaking and being it in everything we do.
Facts.
And then all of a sudden it'll spiral upward faster than we can imagine. You know what I mean? Like humanity, like there's no limit to how fast we can evolve. And look at technology, right?
Yeah.
Like how fast we've evolved technologically in the last 100 years has been insane. There used to be the cell phone was so unevolved. Now every single person has a high-tech computer in the form of an iPhone, video camera, all in the palm of their hand. We can connect to anyone in the world. The evolution has been so fast. That technological evolution can happen on a you can say the
vibrational level,
a spiritual level, a mental level, whatever you want to coin the term, or a moral level.
But I need to make this like people understand this. If you believe it, if you mentally believe that, if you think like that, if you're like, oh, this is bullshit, I don't believe in the spiritual, I don't believe that I can affect someone telepathically or through my vibrations, you know what I'm saying? Then you are not embracing the concept that we can change by projecting ourselves positively. Because I was actually involved in a conversation with people the other day, and one person I was talking about believed that humanity was completely like, no matter what we did, humanity was irreversibly going down the hole. Like our mental process, our vibrational process, that no matter what we did to try to change people would not be able to change. And then the other person on the other side of the conversation was like, we are already at the point where we are vibrating higher. Our frequencies are higher. Our self-love, our self-belief, what people are creating, the businesses, the entrepreneurships have all been evolving. So I guess, like we're saying here, there's always two sides. There's always a negative and a positive to any conversation or any thought you could have. But what do you want to accept and project?
Yeah. And to that point, right? The guy who said that humanity's done, we're screwed. If enough people, so those are the ripples he's sending out.
Right.
He's unconsciously manifesting that.
Boom.
And the thing is,
That's fun.
whether it actually, it manifests in his own psyche, right? His individual psyche. If it manifests in the collective conscious, like meaning on a world scale, if that actually happened, it would only happen because enough people like him, thought like him, vibrated that out. Because if you believe humanity's going down the tubes, okay, then why can't I just go rob this store? Right. Why can't I go beat this guy and take all his money? Right. There's not, you're literally separating yourself from the rest of humanity, saying we're screwed, it doesn't matter. It's apathy, it's depression. And for the second point, right? And you said there was a guy on the other side, right?
Yeah.
So right now, a lot of people would probably agree with me that society is pretty polarized, right? Yeah. I have a degree in psychology. And what a lot of times before a breakthrough in like a patient, they say like neurosis, which means a psychic division, right? Like usually gets at its full peak, and then an evolution will happen. So a lot of times societies get so further divided or even globally divided to hit this next stage, right? Facts. So he can look at it like we're screwed. I can look at it and say, no, this is a good sign. It's a sign that we're gonna struggle because like we said, the pain that we might be experiencing now is essentially a cocoon that's going to drive people to want to be leaders. Because I know I look out in the world and I physically see a lot of people suffering and struggling, and that motivates me to go and make more beautiful music, to go and speak my heart, and go and do whatever I need to do, to go out and lead and be a leader. That inspires me, you know what I mean? So yeah,
That's so fire.
Yeah.
So fire.
So yeah.
Did you have something else to say?
No,
Sorry.
no.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it all depends. And if everyone thought like this, then this would happen.
And that's what I'm saying. It's that the simple save, like when I was talking about like an 80-year-old would go through their whole life and we're having this conversation already, it is that one choice of changing your thought process. Those two people in that conversation, all it was, the difference of the thought process, of the state of fear or the state of acceptance. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's what you are, like, not physically, but spiritually choosing to project and live your life in. What state are you choosing to live in? I think that's like the most important thing that anyone listening in can take from this, whether you're an artist, you're a musician, you're doing a podcast, you have your own business, what state are you choosing to put that business out in? Are you making your deals, your business deals in fear? Are you projecting to your fans in fear your music, or are you doing it in self-love? Are you doing it in self-belief? Are you doing it in positivity? No matter what you're doing in life, there are two choices of how you're going to do that. And you can take a battery, for example. Look at a battery. A battery has a negative end and it has a positive end. And that's literally like everything else in life that we're talking about. And, something, when I was looking at your sweatshirt and we're talking about all this, shout out I aim. But I was thinking about if people don't embrace that state of consciousness, that full sense of self, that vulnerability like that we're trying to do, they'll live a life of aimlessness. They will be aimless. They will have no goal. They will have no direction forward of where they're trying to reach. But when you can solidify those points within yourself and start at that baseline and work your way up to more consciousness, then you aim at something. You have a goal. Shout out the founder of I Aim and let the people know what this is about.
So I AIM is an acronym for I accept I matter. And
That's dope.
I know. And what we were talking about is you have a choice. You either can say, no, I don't matter. Or you can say, I accept I matter. I accept my matter is an affirmation of responsibility. It's like, you matter to the whole world. And whether you actualize yourself, it makes a difference. That supercharges your life with purpose. So if you or you can say I don't matter, it doesn't matter. And in the way that I see the world, I just do not think that's the truth. I don't think that is the truth. I think you literally do matter. You affect everybody around you. Yeah. And I watched when I was miserable how I was making the people around me even more miserable, because I was angry, depressed, anxious. But now that I'm loving, I'm watching myself be an inspiration to the people around me. Right. And I'm sending those ripples outward. And so the logo is an eye with a target in it, because at the end of the day, you can only work on yourself. I can't control Jesse, I can't control him, but I control me. Yes. I can control the energy I put out, my mental attitude, and how I treat other people, and how I put myself into the world. And so the target is always on me. A better you creates a better world.
Yes.
Yeah, and so you have to, that's the motto right there. A better you creates a better world.
Facts. We love the brands with positivity. It means the most to me because branding, businesses are another form of ripple effect. What are you creating with your business? What are you putting out? What's the product that you're producing, and what's the meaning behind it? Like the music you're putting out, the words that you're putting out, the visuals, and the clothing that you're putting out, all aim around positivity and motivation. And that in itself is already creating a network of positive people. Yep. So it's like, I just want to shout out to you, to I Aim, to Frankie Always music, to everything you're doing. And, I know there's been a little bit of a situation with the I Aim company, and I'm sure when people see a sweatshirt, they're going to be like, oh shit, where can I get one?
The website's going to be up. Don't worry, I'm working on it.
We're working on it. It's coming soon.
Don't worry. Big.
So that's going to be coming back around. The I Aim brand will be for the people soon.
Yep. Full running. Okay. It's going to be amazing. Yep.
All right, word.
Yep.
And I do know that you mentioned earlier, I don't know if it was off air, but I think you said we can say it on the show. Do you have a new song that's going to be coming out soon?
I do. I got a new song. It's going to be dropping in September. It's going to be amazing.
Let's go.
It's called How Many Times?
Hey.
That's fun.
And I can do a quick little, this is the hook of it. How many times did I find myself on the other side of these tears I cry? How many times did I have to forgive myself? But all the lows are what's taking me high.
Woo!
Yeah.
That's
Yo,
fun.
we ain't never got a live performance on the show. We got two today. Y'all are lucky. Y'all getting blessed by Frankie Always.
And that's the hook of the song, and it's a really meaningful song. It's super dope. I talk about where just going through all the pain. I mentioned suicide thoughts on the song. I mentioned this, that, and the other, but at the end of the day, it's a funky song. You're gonna dance to it. You're gonna connect to it, and I think it's I have a lot of beautiful songs coming out. Every single song is like a child, like you can't compare your children, but I really think this is one of my best songs I've ever written. So, yeah.
That's fun.
So y'all have to stay tuned for that one. I'm super excited. We just got a little sneak peek, but stay tuned because it's going to be coming out soon. Probably around when we drop this episode, so that'll be awesome.
It will be, yeah.
And Frankie, I do have one more question for you before we wrap up. I feel like we could literally talk for like 5 hours because there's so many things that we haven't even hit on. But, who knows? Maybe we'll come back with another segment in the future. You never know.
Number two.
Maybe 3, 4, 5.
If even like it's just a series.
Co-host vibes, big co-host vibes. Anyways, but yeah, so I ask everyone who comes on the show, but just from your perspective, being a musician, being who you are, from what you've been through, from where you've came and where you are now. What does it mean to you, Frankie Always, to be an old soul in a young world, or just an old soul at all?
I connect to what you're saying about old souls. I've been called an old soul my whole life.
Yes.
What does it mean to be an old soul?
Just to you, though, like
just to me.
No Google definition. Just
yeah. Well. Oh yeah.
He like what's Oxford?
I'm like Oxford verb. What does it mean to be an old soul? I mean, I just know I am an old soul, and I think it just relates to your perspective. It relates to wisdom. It relates to wisdom. Your perceptions of the world, your beliefs on the world, and the way you carry yourself is filtered through a level of wisdom that is that's transcendental,
Fact.
And wisdom is like a universal guiding, thing. Like real wisdom is universal,
Facts.
And you're just looking at the world in a way that the great leaders and the great spiritual teachers look at the world. Right. And we're very blessed to just have always kind of looked at a world and kind of questioned things and
right.
And as we've become adults, we've blossomed into who we really are. And to me, I just am an old soul.
Hey.
It's just what I am. I just am an old soul. It's just what I am, and it's just a level of wisdom. It's just a level of wisdom.
Yeah. And, and I'm sure anybody listening in who's been watching the show can feel from our conversation, because I know that these vibrations, what we've been saying, these words are going to echo and ripple effect over this video, over this audio sound, into these people's homes, into their ears. I feel it from myself projecting right now into y'all. Anybody who needs that energy, that positivity, that guidance, anyone who's down, who's listening right now, this shit is for you. This conversation was for you. The energy that we brought today was for you. And I know that, the ripple effects that we're making in the future are going to cause a whole ocean. You feel me? And it's going to really help us move forward consciously. And like I said before, anybody who's listening in, whether you're a business, entrepreneur, musician, anything in between, you can take these keys, you can take the knowledge that we just talked about, the stuff that you can't touch but you can feel, and you can incorporate that into anything you are doing. Anything you are doing, it starts today by embracing yourself, by moving forward, by taking the steps, and by stop living in a state of fear and living in a state of positivity and consciousness. So, that's I don't even know. This is just a whole vibe in itself, but
only the first episode. We got 10 more coming.
We got 10 more. Watch
we got
out,
a whole
guys.
season coming out. Whole season
Surprise.
coming out. Yeah. And just so everyone knows, we met each other like literally today.
Yo, today.
We're just friends.
I feel like you're like my brother that I've never had.
This is like
I have an older brother. I don't know how old. I feel like you're my spiritual brother. It's just
we
so
got
weird.
connections. I'm 23.
Yeah.
You mentioned that. I'm 23.
Okay, you're my little brother.
Okay.
You are my
How old are
spiritual
you?
little brother. I can't say it on air.
No, yeah.
I don't tell
It's an
anybody.
off-air
I'm an
thing.
old soul.
Old soul, yeah, we're old souls. Age don't matter.
But Frankie, can you let people know where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah.
Where they can find your music? Where they can just check you out going forward? Get some motivational positivity, all that good stuff.
Yo, you can check me out at Frankie Always on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Music, and of course YouTube. I got great music videos up. They're fun, they're dope. Read the lyrics, take them in, learn, feel good.
Hey.
Check it out. And yeah, man, I'm always doing it. I Am Clothing. You can look up I Am Clothing right on Google. Comes right up. And yeah, this is just the start of my journey. So if you connect with me and what I'm saying, definitely check me out. I'm doing some wonderful things, and I'm very grateful, and I'm making an impact. And like I said, this is just an early chapter of a really good book. So hop on the bandwagon before it is full.
I love that. I love that. I love that, guys. There is nothing more to say. Frankie Always is always being himself, and I think that's the key that you can take from today's show. Always be you, always generate positivity, understand the state that you're living in, and try to progress forward to become a better person no matter what you are doing, what fashion of work or art you're in. We can always project positivity and make that ripple effect. So guys, make sure you check out Frankie Always on all platforms. His new music is coming, lots of awesome clothes and branding in the future, and just motivational positivity so y'all can keep going. Make sure you check him out and tune in with me again next week on Old Soul in the Young World with your host, Jessie Ellie.